Thanks for staying with us. Now I'm moving to the banking sector. It has long been the toast of many Nigerian workers, mainly because people who work there are believed to earn quite a bit of money. Joining us on the show today is a certified financial educator who started a thread on the appalling salaries many banks in Nigeria are paying their staff, either directly or indirectly through outsourcing agencies. Welcome with us, Mr. Kalu Aja. Welcome, sir. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. So let's start with your thread. This, it went viral. Many people are talking about it and sharing their experiences. What led you to express the hurts many bankers are going through, especially when it comes to salary payments?
Yeah, just lots of DMs from lots of folks talking about help me out or this and that. And it's complaint when you look at the entire structure and you see it's an industry built around underpaying workers. So I guess it's the need to put out there. Just to explain what's going on, right? The national minimum wage basically gives an exemption for casual workers. So what has happened is that the banks have simply taken the tellers and some marketers and converted them to casual workers. Yeah. So that way, they don't pay them the minimum wage. Yeah. And in some instances, they keep them on to a certain time and terminate them so they don't become permanent staff. So it's just a story of, hey, I'm working here for a long time, same salary, or I don't get benefits. Or, it's just lots of it. But the structure is really what I'm talking about, where the banks are basically hiding behind, they are not our staff, hence we can't pay them that living wage or that minimum wage. That's really what we're trying to get to. I'm really talking to the banks that they can do better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I know when this started, initially when you graduate from school and you look forward to getting a job in the bank because you know that in a few years you'll be earning so much. But all of a sudden, I think it also happened during the time of the network providers as well. They were now bringing a lot of contract people, and the bankers' salaries were slashed. They would say you are all contract, you are not a staff, and they have to renew the contract over the years. This was when they enjoyed the fact that they were paying less and using them to do more work, and they continued. But what do you think, I'm sorry, I have to go back to government now, can do, or the labor, the NLC, yes, to protect, what do you think they can do to protect the workers in a way that they give the banks a minimum of casual workers and a minimum of staff that would come in, give them a number so they don't exceed the number of those casual workers? Do you think that would be some way that they can protect these young people?
You're perfectly correct. I mean, casual work has existed forever. Yeah. I mean, Apple assembles phones in China, and they do tons of casual workers in Foxconn. But China says you can only have 10% of your total workforce as casual. So during peak periods, during the summer, you can employ like students to work, only 10%. But in Nigeria, there are no laws mandating the percentage of the workforce that is casualized. So if I want to make a return on investment, all I have to do is to say, take an entire department and casualize them. Then simply cut their salaries by 50%, outsource it to a company. The company rehires the same workers to do the exact same job, but pays them 50% less. And that's the problem. It's more of an institutional issue now. It's not like one guy doing something across the street. All the banks tend to do it. There are outsourcing companies all over the place, hiring younger people, paying them less, using that your OND or HND or this excuse or that excuse. And if you don't stop it, there are implications which we can talk about, but that's really the point.
Right.
How much casual staff you can have. And then you start to pull on this.
Okay, Mr. Kalu Aja, I actually follow you on Twitter. I enjoy your tweets. I think they're quite enlightening, so it's good to have you here. So for me, my question would be, how is it that, banks and other corporations are able to do this for so long, for as long as they've done it, forever? We have the NLC, we have all the other civil service organizations, but also Nigerians as a group. What are we not doing, or what can we do as a people to to influence policy so that things like this change? Because we're constantly talking about it. We'll talk about it with you today. I'm telling you, another 5 years, we'll still be talking about it. I just wonder what we can do as Nigerians, where we are individually, you know, to see change in some policies that are not beneficial to us.
I mean, the answer is simple. The economy is very weak. One thing that struck me when I talk to people on the DM is that lots of people do not want to give information. They can tell me, but they'll say, don't post it. Even if I'm going to redact it, don't post it. People are scared of losing their jobs. And that's why this has persisted. Because the banks can sack everybody and bring in new people. When I mean banks, I'm being colloquial, right? Is the outsourcing companies, right? So they can let you go and there are 10 others waiting to take your place. And that's the core problem because there's so much unemployment that if you don't play ball, you're out and people go come in. And this is what I've been talking about, the financial, the low pay, the conditions of service, working on the weekends, the harassment, the toxic workforce that is prevalent. The point is I'm focusing on the banks because they have a higher standard, right? We are all, I used to be a banker, and the banks can lead the change and say, listen, we're going to have this pledge and say, if you work for us, contractor, supplier, you've got to have this, should we say, sustainable pledge in your own organization. Don't pay someone 50,000 naira and then outsource them to a bank. How does that make any sense? Security-wise, is it socially or emotionally or even economic? How do you pay someone 50,000 naira and then attempt to go count $1 billion in the vault? Doesn't make any sense, right?
Mr. Ajag, I would like you to share a few stories that you've heard because you say you're a banker and many people do come to you for this kind of complaints. So we have a picture of what's really going on because some people are listening to us and they're somewhat clueless on exactly, aside from the casual worker issue, they've not really seen or heard of real life experiences. Could you share a few stories with us?
Yeah, I'll give you real life. I mean, let's talk from the part of the bankers and of the casual workers. So what essentially happens is that you would employ OND or HND as marketers. They call them DSAs as marketers. And essentially you pay them a fixed salary of the 45, then they get a commission. Some get a commission, some don't. If they get a commission, if they bring the deposit, they get a share of the deposit, right? And that lasts for maybe a month or 2 or 3. After then it's transferred to a permanent staff in the bank. So they have the same contract staff and the same bank staff marketing. But just one guy gets a salary, the other guy is a contract staff. After 3 months, the wage goes or the account goes to the real staff. And then he is like on a commission and he's trying to become a permanent staff. So you have that dichotomy from the top, the bank saying you are DSA and you're permanent staff. But to take it home, the one story that struck me was the lady that was trying to get a job, got a job as a contract worker, got a baby, and had to go to work. Literally had to go to work on the weekends with the baby. So she would hire someone to stay in a shop near the bank while she's working in the bank over the weekend as a contract staff to clean up, or maybe she works in the teller or whatever, and have to go clean up. If they miscount, the miscount is taken from her paycheck. So in a month she could work, and then when they count the cash, like when you don't balance, that difference is debited to her personally. So she could work for 30 days and get paid for 10 days if you do the calculation. And she's on 45,000. She showed me the pay stub. She joined 5 years ago, 45,000. Last year she gave me the pay stub, 45,000. No increment, no inflation hedging, nothing. And she tells me, oh, this guy will stay come meet me in this hotel, or it's just crazy. It's appalling. And it was her that made me start to tweet, and then people start to send the stuff.
Right.
But you can't have this going on in quote-unquote world-class institutions. You look at all the banks. We've got Wharton Trade Boards. You've got sustainability pledges. We have correspondence banks. We shouldn't let this become an issue before we take care of it.
Yeah. As a follow-up to this, Mr. Ajag.
It's an easy fix. Fix.
As a follow-up to
If you pay
this,
this guy,
sir,
if you pay them, you're not going to lose your billions. If you pay them, all the banks declare $1 billion. If you start to pay the younger, very, very low workers a minimum wage, even if it's 120,000 a month, you're still going to declare $1 billion. Yeah?
Yeah. So I was worried because I've heard something up close. This particular lady was a cleaner as an ad hoc staff in a bank, and then I think she missed the day she was ill. They deducted the money from her salary. In fact, so the banks don't pay the individuals directly, they pay the agents, and then they can slash your money anyhow. And she was crying, lamenting. People gathered her and they were able to contribute to her. And I also know that they do not allow this organization, it's not just banks, even companies, factories, they do the same thing. They do not allow their workers to have a union. So nobody is able to speak up. I would like you to direct what you think the NLC should be doing for workers in Nigeria. What sort of policies do you think the NLC can push to the Houses of Assembly, the National Assembly, to protect the Nigerian workers? And how do they fight these fights? Because every time is minimum wage for the regular workers, and these subsidy, and these ad hoc staff and there are a lot of people are doing this. They are left behind. So what do you think in clear terms that they can begin to push so that we know who to hold responsible and how we can shout about these things?
Yeah, true. I mean, there are simple things you can do. For one, you can specify how long you can work as a casual worker.
Yeah.
You can say 3 months. Because a casual worker is you have like an ad hoc event, like the Naira change, right? And you have to employ casual workers to count cash during that Naira change. That's a short-term thing, 3 months. So after 3 months, you cannot be a casual worker. It's either you are fired or you are employed. That takes away a lot of it. So now, if you take away the casual workforce, you're not talking about the pay, right? And the pay is already covered in the minimum wage. The lacuna is that you can get employed as a casual worker for 5 years, and then because the minimum wage law says you don't get a minimum wage if you are not a staff, then you can then get paid 50 grand because you're a casual worker for 5 years. And if you're a casual worker, then of course you can't join a union because you're not an employee. So you see how it all goes still. But if you specify and define who is a worker, who is a casual worker, you can't be casual for more than 3 months or for even 6 months. So if you do that, then automatically you destroy the business model of the exploitative guys that employ these very young people and use them. That's what we need to do. It's an easy fix. Get that sorted out and say, just amend the act and say casual workforce will be 3 or 6 months. Once you put that there, then the model goes away. So they either have to fire all those casual workers or they have to employ them. Simple.
Right.
With business, it's really about money. And sometimes I find that in maybe trying to change policy or push policy, you need to see how it benefits your employers or the companies themselves. In what way, if there is any, would it hurt a company to constantly have casual workers that they employ for a certain time, and when they get bold enough to ask for more, they let them go? In what way does it negatively impact a company? And do you think if they could learn from that, or what way would it be more beneficial to them if they kept, if they move their casual workers and give them permanent employment? If people or companies are able to see that, and compare, how do you think, it will help with policies going forward?
It's a great question, because even well before we talked about this, before we were talking about the Naira change, I spoke to an idiot in a bank, and he told me the biggest problem they have in the bank is that they train workers and they leave. They train workers and leave. And I'm talking about the IT workers. And what you saw with the Naira change was because the bank had not built up this core of IT workers that understood processes, systems under stress, right? Because people come in, people go. The casual workers are not happy. They're simply working at the bank because they want to, quote unquote, jackpot or get a better job. You can't build an organization where everyone is temporary on his way out. So you don't build that cohesion or that team building. There's just people are coming in and they see information. Those workers see your information, your bank information, they get your records and all that. You don't know who they are because they are low-paid transitory workers, right? And that's what's going on. If you build a real core class of workers that is brand loyal, those guys can actually give you ideas. Oh, let's do this better. But now it's just grind. Let's go to work by 8. Let's leave by 6 p.m. And I hope to get paid. I have no commitments to this. If anyone wants to do, and I'm being sorry, if you want to do a fraud, I'm available. This is what you see. Because there's no culture. You cannot build a wealth as an institution on the feet of low-paid casualization. Makes like building a skyscraper with foundations of play. It can't stand, right? That's just it.
All right.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.